fingers? I can't tell if they're all full. Yeah, I need that.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
John, will you lead us in word of prayer, please?
Most gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to be together tonight. We just pray that you would calm our spirits, help us to seek peace, help us to work through these problems together. I pray that you would be in the decisions that are made. I pray that you would help us to make wise decisions moving forward as a city and as a community, and just bless this time that we have, that it might be pleasing to you. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. All right. Welcome, everyone. Feel like we know why we have such a good crowd, but would anyone like to come up to the podium and state their name and ask a question or statement for the council before we get started with items on the agenda? Christopher?
Hello, Chris Cook, and just want to share some comments about one of the items that I know you all will be talking about on the agenda. Besides our literal concern about the availability of water itself, I think the chief concern throughout this ongoing crisis that every one of us shares, and that includes our council and our mayor, is a lack of information. There's an opportunity tonight to correct that for all of us. We have to find the best long-term solution to ensure that the city of Marion has a sustainable water source that has the capacity for growth. No one in our community has the knowledge, the experience, the expertise, the contacts, and most importantly, the time to help our city navigate working with 3 engineering firms and the various state agencies involved in this situation to get solid information on each of the three most viable options, then help the city intelligently and systematically evaluate those options based on facts and based on the financing for which each of those options qualifies, and help the city make the most responsible choice among those options for the citizens, businesses, industries, and schools in our community. And once the city council has made that choice, then to help the city secure the available financing and actually initiate the plan to accomplish it. We need a professional with this knowledge, this experience, this expertise, these contacts, and the time. As we have all endured this crisis for what will soon be the last 6 months, we urge the council to take this critical step tonight. We need to send a clear signal to our business community that the council is committed to bringing this issue to a solid resolution that can allow our businesses and our industries to begin making plans for a bright future filled with possibilities. I want to stress the urgency of engaging a professional now, while we can take advantage of available and unprecedented infrastructure funds. But to secure those funds, we need to have approved our chosen option, and we need a professional to help the city make that choice intelligently based on facts. Thank you all for your time, and thank you for the decisions that I know you all are making.
Thank you, Chris. Okay, does anyone else have anything before we move on to items on the agenda? Okay. Well, first on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from the September 19th council meeting and the September 29th and October 11th special council meetings. Any additions or corrections? If none, do I have a motion to accept as printed?
Motion.
Dwight, do we have a second?
Second.
Deanna, all in favor, aye. Opposed, no. Let's have it. Thank you. Now, update on the water supply issues. I think Adam is on the phone, which can be accessed. I know we have visitors from BFW that could possibly explain a little bit more to the council on the engineering work that we had done. So at this time, if Chris or Susanna, whichever one would like to step up, introduce yourself, and give us a little idea of.
So, I guess who the process started off when the issues were first observed with the dam. And Susanna can chime in if you need to do it all here. The first step we kind of took as when we were retained was to develop a corrective action plan, and that kind of laid out the steps for the state to let them know what steps we were going to be doing moving forward. Then after that, part that came from that was doing geotechnical exploration to evaluate the stability of the dam. We did that. That has been submitted to the state. We just received comments on that this morning. We're working on addressing those right now and working with the state to kind of keep things moving. Hopefully get responses back to them this week, and then also get some kind of either phone call or face-to-face meeting set up with them to work through those comments so we can keep things rolling quickly, expedite that process. I think I missed something in the process there.
I would add that we had to do full topo
Yep.
before we even got to the geotechnical portion to determine locations and things like that.
So the purpose of our services to date has been to really look at the dam and see how we can restore the dam to a level such that it can start to retain storage again, to start developing capacity that water for the city. So that's kind of where we're at to date.
Well, the next step is after you respond to the state on their findings with your report, what is the next step? Because I think we were kind of under the impression that now is the time that we apply for the, to submit the permit, or to get the permit submitted. So what are the next steps that we have to wait on to move
I
forward?
do wanna add one thing that we did do, so in the midst of that, we also looked at city lakes, since that is your backup storage. And we looked at the possibility of doing some dredging activities and enlarging, the capacity for that lake. That, when we ran the numbers, cause I came out here and looked at that, we actually kayaked to the other end of it and looked at it. The amount of work that you would have to do for that and the permitting, because it's developed into somewhat of a wetland at that end of the, lake, was gonna be extremely expensive. So that's kinda when we deviated back to, fixing the dam, because we kinda explored both those options. So then, like he said, now that we've got these next responses, we need to answer those responses and get them on board with, our report and coming to an agreement on the repairs, because they came back with, questions about that. And then once that is at that point, then that's when we need to start looking at funding opportunities. Because, you know, we did provide you an estimated cost of construction. So that goes into looking for grants, which we have someone on our engineering firm who does grants. So I asked her, and there is funding in different mechanisms out there, and she listed several. There could be like USDA grants, there could be some through KIA, EDA possibly. So there's different ones that you could look at, but we're gonna have to look at what, which ones would maybe possibly apply for this.
Thank you.
I've got a question, Mayor.
Sure.
In your experience with requesting a permit, I've heard that it could take months up to a year for a permit to be approved by the state. Do you have experience with that?
I've not experienced with how long they take to approve a dam permit. They took about a month to respond to our, soil analysis and stability analysis of the dam. So,
Okay.
I could probably add that it is gonna be directly dependent upon what they're gonna require for us. So example, one of the things that they came back and said was that they thought that we should do rock quarrying. We do not think that is necessary, and that's one of the things we were gonna do when we reply back to those comments, is give them additional information of why that we feel that's not necessary,
Okay.
and why we didn't do that in the first place.
Okay.
So
Questions when you
again,
get done.
yeah, sure,
Yeah, go ahead.
again, what I was gonna say is that, so obviously, if they're gonna make you stick to that and make you do drilling, then you have to do the drilling, do the report, and that delays that time. So there's a lot of things that it's kinda hard to say how long that permit takes.
Okay.
Okay. Do you think that then by sometimes in the next few days, you'll have responses to what you're questioning right now?
yeah, we're gonna have our responses out to the state this week. for
Okay,
sure.
and then as far as the grants, as most people know, we had bald eagles nesting out there, you know, and at one time they were an endangered species. Is it possibility that the wildlife department, the state wildlife department, could provide funds on something to rebuild this levee and get the eagles back? I mean, eagles I know they're more abundant now than they have been, but still, when you take nesting grounds away from them, and as some of these folks that live out there know, you know, that's a pretty big thing, and you would think there would be people willing to support that. I know the governor talked personally that he would like to see that restored and see the eagles back. He made that comment to me directly, so I'm not just blowing in the wind here. It's been brought up before, okay?
That's something that we can definitely look into and find out for you. Neither of us are the grant specialists by any means, but I know that there's a lot of different mechanisms out there. We can certainly check into that.
Okay, thank you.
I have a couple questions. What would be your timeline of answering all of these questions that they're asking of you all in test?
Is that the letter that just came out this morning?
Yes, sir.
ma'am.
Yeah, that's what we're shooting
That's
at.
what we just,
We've been discussing them already. and
I mean,
we're-
like the core samples and stuff
Yeah.
like that they're asking.
Mhm.
You think you can get all that done and back into them by the end of the week?
The responses, if they're gonna
Okay.
make us do core samples, drill rig availability is like at an all-time like low, like been historic. Like my time working in this industry, I've never seen
Right.
such a demand on drilling. So it could be mid-November before we could be back out there to drill again. If
To
the
even
holds
start
good.
that, to answer these,
Yes.
if they do push that issue.
Yes, and we're hoping, our goal is to work with them to come to an understanding of why they think we need it, and then explain to them of why we think we're okay without that information.
In your honest opinion, do you think they're requiring a little bit extra on the city of Marion?
I'm not gonna say one way or the other, I think,
Okay.
I just think we need to help them understand what was in our report a little better, and kind of help explain to them what we did.
Okay, so do you see any of this stuff that they're asking? And I know you still have to go back to them, they'll send back to you, back and forth, back and forth. Do you think that's gonna change this number much?
No, we talked about that this morning, I
Okay.
think that number, is that the
Pretty
cost estimate for repairing the dam is gonna stay the same.
Okay,
We had talked about leaving the pipe in place
Right.
and grouting in place.
they want it
They want
pulled.
to pull it out, but in the end, I think it's gonna end up pretty close to the same price, or estimate will be pretty similar.
And that's 5 million, for
Well,
those who don't know, and that's 5 million.
That one that he's looking at was the one.
That's
One
the-
million.
that's the one we-
Where's the 5 million?
Is it, is that the 1 million?
Restoration.
Okay.
Where's the
Yes.
5 million? Is there a 5 million one?
No, that was the original.
That was
one.
Adam's original
Oh, okay.
estimate,
No, I had
including
the
some work
million.
to the, water
Yeah,
plant.
they had-
We want for sure.
Yeah, probably include water plant repairs, upgrades.
So what could you all see as a potential date or timeline that we could be turning dirt out there?
We discussed that today, hopefully, probably early spring next year. It's gonna be hard to move dirt through the winter.
Right. And that's basically just, probably not from their response, but what they're gonna require, the
Well,
steps.
And yeah, I was gonna say, you have to keep in mind, that once we get through the questions and once they agree with the report and the way that we're going to do it, then you have to do the design and the engineering for how that is gonna happen. And that's what they have to approve, so that's why he's
Yeah.
saying it's spring. It's not like they just say, okay, yeah, go to work. We have to design how, you know, the step backs and all of that for the excavation and the pipe.
So that's like step one of, hey, here's our approach.
Yes.
And
Right.
And it just to get, conceptual buy-off from them, and then it's, hey, we're gonna actually
But,
go and develop.
but you all haven't
construction
even
plan.
started on the design work or scope
No.
or to submit. You had to get through the hurdles, I guess,
Yeah.
first.
Yep.
Cause the main thing was, we didn't know if they were gonna make us completely rebuild the entire dam or not. That was what we were trying to get away from, so that you wouldn't have the entire replacement.
Okay, thank you.
Don here, Darren, did y'all have anything?
I'm good.
Well, Chris and Suzanne, I appreciate you all coming in, able to answer some questions a little bit clearer, so thank you all very much. Does anyone else have anything on the, update on the water supply issues? Leighton, has anything else came in that we should be aware of
Just those 2 emails that the council
that we
got this
forwarded out this morning, right?
I have a general question.
Yes, sir.
on- Speaking of water supply, do we know where we stand at a water supply issue?
Jeff, what is it looking like on the hill and at the plant?
We've got, there was 60 foot of water up there on the hill, there's almost 1 million gallons. And then as far as the Old City Lake, it's almost full.
Old City Lake's almost full, so that's where we've been pumping over from Old,
It's
Or-
not overflowing, but it's just a few inches away from being full.
but have we been pumping from Lake George over?
We've been letting it gravity flow down to Old
Okay.
City Lake.
And how much are we getting from Crit Live currently?
It's still 125 gallons a minute,
Okay, so,
which is 187,000 a day. I mean, I can't do the math right now.
that's all right. On average, in the last month or two, do you have a guesstimate of how much we're using daily? If we're getting 187, give or take, from Crit Live,
I
what
was
would-
adding to it, I might pump 3 days a week for about 4 or 5 hours of our water, and that's it.
right?
The rest of it is their water.
Well,
I
that's-
haven't treated water since the 13th of October.
Wow.
we've been surviving off Whitney Livingston's water between these leaks being fixed and people conserving it. It's been, not bad at all. It's been.
And has the elementary school gone offline yet? Are they on Critton and Livingston?
Tammy, I saw her come
As,
in. I don't think so yet.
Oh,
I
there.
can speak to that.
Sure.
I had several, issues, and part of our issues were, we wanted there to be a cluster valve so that we could, connect back to the city of Marion. When we were able to do that, the Department of Water, got involved in that and put a requirement on us that was gonna cost a substantial amount of money more than that. So, what we're doing is backing into, they're coming back this week to drill down. And they are going to disable the cluster valve from the city so that we can just do Critton and Livingston water. It should be done at the end of this week. And then when we need to go back on the city water, we'll have to pay for them to come back and dig again. And that's what we were trying to avoid with the cluster valve. But the Department of Water, stopped us from being able to do that. So I'm hoping by the end of this week we'll have it finished. That helps.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, how come they chose you all to put a stop to? Do we not have other places that have switched to Critton and Livingston?
The hospital,
But they didn't stop them?
they hooked right into the main. Somebody correct me if I'm.
We have a valve that we can swap back and forth when we get ready to connect back over, so we have what she's referring to.
They do. Well, ours, I don't know why Department of Water decided to get involved with us, but they did. They got involved with us and shut us down. I'm not sure if it's because of how long we had things open, down there and how much time it took to get that done, or if somebody reported it. I'm not sure what happened, but anyway, that's why we've been slow.
I hate to hear that.
But thank you, and we'll definitely ask Carrie and Shannon and Jackie on what's going on there and why that's taking place. Any other questions?
No, I was just concerned about how many more days we could have of water.
And
If we have a contingency plan, I know P&H is obviously in their busy season or not, so. I mean, if we feel like we got another month of water, I mean, I know you can't say exactly, but I just didn't know if there's a contingency plan to haul water again or not.
not right now, no.
Sounds like we're in pretty good shape.
Sounds like we're in good shape right now, absolutely.
Right.
With rain again not in the forecast for another 10 days.
Well, I mean, that's the scary part.
But that's-
And I don't go out there and I don't know how much, a whole old city lake water is gonna last the city of Marion.
Right, but whenever we have, with the everybody conserving water and what we are getting from Critton and Livingston, that's why I can sleep at night. I mean, unless they
Well,
have
and
a break,
having the
and that's
pump in
whenever.
place, being able to pump from Lake George,
Yes,
which you weren't able to before. We never did until after, right?
right, yeah.
So, that does make you feel better, that
Did we ever get another update on the Sturgis connection over there, or did they just drop that?
From what I was told, this is secondhand, but I was told that they've set that to the side until spring. That is,
So we went from
Got the division
August
finance.
29th, gonna have it done.
the
till-
Division of Finance had stopped
Side-
that and
they
not
were
gonna
one
look at it
sidetracked.
until spring.
Jeff, how much, do you know, how much water we're using a day now, roughly?
About 160, 170,000 gallons a day.
Okay,
That's what I pumped today, that's what I had at the end of my shift.
That's down quite a bit
Yeah, it is.
310.
Yeah, it was more than that.
Well, I just meant-
yeah, but
that-
we had
Leaks that were happening.
Yeah.
Did we just decide to purchase that equipment we had talked about?
We did not.
We haven't yet.
Alan was supposed to be checking into it.
Yeah.
Alan here tonight?
Alan is not here tonight.
He was supposed to be checking on that.
We need to follow up on that.
We need to.
I think he's gonna bid the next one, right?
Did he contact you about that? You,
Adam's on the phone. Adam, by chance, do you know the answer to that question when Alan is supposed to be back in town?
Do you hear him?
Yes, actually, if Layton will simply just request it in due time, Alan will likely make it to the November meeting if he can.
is that when he was scheduled for the sewer plant meeting?
There's a sewer plant meeting at the end of this month.
Okay, he said he would be in town for that. That's what Alan told me.
Yeah, I mean, he'll be here for that as well, but if you wanted him to be before the council, I mean, all you need to do is give him enough notice and he can attend any meeting.
We can do that. We get it from
Make
there.
sure plant meeting.
Do you know the date of that sewer plant meeting?
Not off the top of my head, I have it in my office.
Is it during daytime usually?
Yeah, it's 11, normally 10 to 11 o'clock during the day.
Is it, is it like a weekday, what day,
Yeah, it's normally on a Wednesday or
On
Thursday.
Wednesday. What if we had a,
27th,
27th?
the 27th.
what if we had a call meeting that night? While he's here.
I'll see if he can, really don't wanna do it on a Wednesday. If
I
we
don't know,
have,
but if he's here,
if he's here and that's the only time he can, we'll definitely do that. So Layton, write that
That's a
down as
Thursday.
is it a Thursday? Well, that's perfectly fine. So, let's go ahead and kind of tentatively schedule that and plan for that. Cause I'm sure we're gonna have several work sessions and stuff in between then.
Like to hear.
So, any other
I have a
questions?
question.
Yes, ma'am.
For BFW, real quick. Did you see anything in your findings that would lead them to think that we need to replace the entire thing? Did you see anything like that?
No, I don't think that's what the state was getting at in their responses either, is that they want to see the whole thing replaced.
Okay, okay. And then I was looking at the Department of Water's letter on page 2. Do you have a copy of this?
Pull up the phone.
So, yes, you can handle it. On page 2, the first bullet point. How do you read that? It says, due to the unknown condition of the existing water line and the embankment materials surrounding the line, a full excavation and removal of the water line will be required to ensure no further voids exist in the dam embankment materials. A new low-level outlet works and seepage mitigation will be required. What is the scope of work? What does that mean to you?
So we had originally proposed to go in and pressure grout the line. So you plug up one end and you, under pressure, pump grout into it. It goes through where the pipe is burst and then, should go in, permeate into the ground and fill any voids that have opened up over the years of that pipe leaking.
Okay.
That's what we had originally proposed. They don't agree with that method. So they want us to just do a full replacement of the water line instead. So what that will involve is cutting out that middle center section where the line goes through the dam, all the way down to where that existing pipe is, pull that pipe out and put a new one in its place.
Okay.
So that's kind of the difference there between what we had proposed.
They did ask for the line to go back in the bottom,
Well, not necessarily go back to the bottom.
Okay.
It's up to us to design.
so it's
where
either
it
that
goes.
or we just get compaction and bring it back up.
Right.
Without one,
Yep.
okay.
I think it says, is it your understanding it says that we can go back in the bottom, right?
Alan preferred to do it that way, but I thought we had talked about earlier about going over the top.
I think there's somebody said we had to or something.
Well, I just, where she just read, I thought it said that we could,
No, it talks about putting the dirt back.
Yeah, I don't think they necessarily dictate where we have to put the line back in. I think that'll come out in the design once we actually go through the full design.
Well, it was her, BFW's original suggestion to go over the levee. Got me thinking of it, don't you?
I guess what I read is it says a new low-level outlet works and seepage mitigation will be required.
So, yeah, that's where the line, but it doesn't necessarily have to go back in where it came from. We can design it how we determine what's best for the,
But it can go low and not over the top.
yeah.
Okay.
All right. Any other questions?
I think that's what
Darren, you good?
I understood, that Division of Water, that y'all preferred at one point. We talked about that. It was preferred over the top.
Who are you talking
Am I wrong?
Jeff, thanks, he's asking.
Oh, are you asking Jeff?
Huh?
Are you asking?
I can't see that.
No,
far.
nobody from Division of Water is here tonight. I'm sorry.
I thought, he's coming on the far side. I thought that's him. I'm sorry. My bad. Huh? Oh, sorry. Hey, nice to meet you.
Division Water didn't show.
I think,
Yeah, all right.
Darren, I think
Division of Water
Adam,
didn't show. Well, that's it.
I think Adam hasn't answered your question though, Adam, or Darren.
No, I'm good.
Darren, during the, if I understood your question right, you were asking about if the state had a preference for going over the top. When
Correct.
we were speaking with them, and Jeff can reiterate some of this story, I know when our team was looking at options, and by our team I mean our internal staff, there seemed to be a heavy preference by the state that we go over the top. Now that's obviously not a, that's not an end-all, be-all, nor did it include any type of engineering, significant engineering on the option. But I can tell you that they had a high interest in going over the top at that time.
Thank you, Adam. Any other questions? All right. Next, we have Amanda Davenport from the Lake Barkley Partnership to address the council. Amanda, there you are. Welcome and thank you for coming.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm Amanda Davenport. I'm with the Lake Barkley Partnership. I represent our regional economic development agency. You guys know my office is here in Marion. I love being here and I really want to keep it that way. I'm just as concerned about the long-term water solution as all of you are. This has been causing me a lot of anxiety. I mean, just knowing what do we do, what happens, because what happens to our community in 2 years or 5 years or 10 years if one of our industries leave? I know that's a major concern for them because our biggest employers are all here tonight wanting to, be a part of the solution and figure out what we do long term. Because I know that they are also really worried about what happens if it comes to a point where they don't know that they can keep their business here. That impacts them as much as it does us. Whatever we all decide is a long-term solution that fits the community. It's gonna take a lot of coordination from the city council, from engineers, from state agencies, from the fiscal court, from PAD, from federal agencies, from our business community, but most importantly from our people. They're the ones that suffer so much not having water. I mean, just having to figure out, can you do laundry, can you wash dishes, are clothes clean for everybody? That's a lot. That's a lot of stress that adds to people. We've talked a lot with the state. This is an unprecedented situation. Nobody in Kentucky has ever gone through this before, so nobody has a solution for it. And we're certainly not gonna come up with one immediately, but we have to figure out what is the best plan forward given all the factors that we know. Right now, we're trying to figure out, do we fix Lake George? Do we buy from Crittenden and Livingston? Do we buy from the city of Princeton? Last week, you guys were looking at 3 different reports and none of them were incomplete. A lot of the pages that you all had were just numbers. I mean, really, it was just numbers trying to figure out, how do I make a decision based on this information? And it seems like every meeting, every week, every day, you guys are getting an update. And you're trying to figure out, well, how does this update square with what we already know and what we're trying to decide and what we're gonna do? The costs are so crazy in between all the 3 things, right? So Lake George is maybe $1 million just for rebuilding the lake. Tying into Crittenden Livingston has a $37 million price tag. Who pays that? How does that cost structure work out? Princeton line is $5 million just for the line, but it sounds like they also need some plant upgrades. So how does that kind of impact everything? On top of looking at all of those, right, just those 3 things, you guys also need to figure out what is the state of the current water plant, right? So we all know that it has needed some upgrades down the line a couple years ago, but how much has this added to the stress of the plant and what we need to do to make sure that it's up and running? how can we make sure that whatever we do at the water plant is compatible with the sewer plant? Because those two things need to tie in together. How does the cost of fixing the water plant impact the cost of the sewer plant, right? Those are both really big price tags. What are the funding sources? How can you match funds? Are some of the federal money that's been designated to the state, can that work with other federal money? There's so much. And then on top of that, the federal money from ARPA has a time clock that runs out in 2024. So we kind of have a quick decision to make to still be able to access those funds. And all of those funds kind of change every day depending on who's in office or who decides this or what goes on there. So there's a lot of coordination that needs to happen. And I present this not to just be somebody that has more problems for you guys to solve, right? I think that there's a solution to help you guys make this decision, because this is a really big burden that's on your shoulders and it's been weighing on all of you guys for a really long time. I know that. I cannot imagine what it's like to sit in your seat. And we all know that when the election happens, we'll have a new mayor. We've got 11 people running for 6 spots. We have a new city attorney. We're going to have a new city administrator. So we've got a lot of change going on while we're trying to make these really big decisions. And as much as we probably don't want it to, local politics just sometimes, it just happens. That's the nature of it. So, as I said, I represent the partnership, but I also work with CCEDC and our business community. And they have really kind of put their heads together to figure out what can happen. I think we all know, like Chris Cook mentioned, we need to have somebody that's got some experience in this, because I don't. I mean, I deal with grants and federal programs all day. I have no idea how to solve a crisis like this, and I don't think that any one person does. But having a team together that's moving forward is probably the way we need to go about, but we kind of have to have a quarterback for that team. So who can kind of come in and do this? CCEDC and some of the business leaders have found a person based on recommendation from PAD and other kind of public agencies, regional agencies. It's a person that has experience with the Kentucky Infrastructure Authority, just working in public policy, and with the Appalachia Regional Commission, which is a sister firm to the Delta Regional Authority. And I'm not trying to be intentionally vague or not mention who the person is, but this is a person that doesn't really need the work. They see a need in the community and they have ties to Western Kentucky, so they have said that they would like to come in and help, but they also really don't want to be in the spotlight or in the political fray, so that until council has decided which direction they want to go, the person doesn't want to be named. I'll also say that I don't think that CCEDC is tied exactly to just one person. They just have kind of found a person that checks all the boxes of understanding state programs, federal programs, infrastructure requirements, kind of all of these moving pieces that we're trying to hit and trying to evaluate between different agencies. So I've been asked by the CCEDC board to just propose this idea to council and see what you all think to help us as we evaluate, I want to say, a fast long-term solution, right? Because we need to figure this out quickly. Right now we're doing okay, but again, as soon as another leak happens, how much water do we have and what's the timeline? So, but we need to find a solution that is not a Band-Aid and actually fixes the issue and looks at the water plant, looks at the sewer plant, looks at the entire system so that we can come up with something long-term. So CCEDC would like to hire this person to come in and help coordinate with a group. If there's a group of council members and business leaders that can facilitate kind of looking at all of the options and making recommendation to council on how to move forward. CCEDC would hire this person, coordinate with a water advisory group of some sort, and look at all the options to kind of help navigate what we do next, where we go. In this type of setup, CCEDC would basically be the fiscal agent to hire a project manager to help take the politics out of the fray of it, and the council would reimburse the CCEDC for costs associated. Neither the group or the person that comes in would make the decisions. They would just be a person that can kind of help us get through administration transition and start coordinating with all the firms that we have. Again, this is a solution that gives a lot of people in the community buy-in. and helps you all not have to be experts in solving the water crisis. So that's a lot. I'm happy to take any questions.
And before they ask questions, I want to add to that with the possibility of that. Now, mind you, Perry couldn't be here tonight, but he said this was just a possibility that the KIA would allow him to reallocate some of the clean water funds for the purpose to pay for this person up to 20,000. But that is maybe. So that's not set in stone, but I did want to go ahead and share that since he had told me that he wouldn't be able to be here.
So EDC would pay it and we would pay them back.
Right. And in a setup like this, if you have EDC do it, then if the county has funds to contribute, I think that it makes it easier for the county to just contribute there.
How long will we need this, General?
I mean, I don't know.
I don't either.
I don't know. I mean, how long have we been talking? I mean, this is a person that would come in on a month-to-month basis as needed, as long as the group, the community, the council decides that it's needed. You know, from my perspective, one of the things that I see coming up is there's been some different language that the General Assembly is starting to put in. I think they allocated a special fund to help fix, what was it? Help fix dams. It's a really particular language that they put in for what sounds like our project. But I'm thinking, you know, if we're going into January when the special session starts, or when the regular session starts, we want to make sure that we have a person on contract for a month or 2 or 3 just to get us through whatever we need with city administration changing, getting the new city manager in place or administrator in place, and then if we need any help through the general session. But I mean, I would think that you're looking at probably 3 months minimum. I mean,
Oh, yeah, easy.
I mean, but I don't think that this is a person that wants to come in and be someone here long term. They want to come in and help say, where are we? Let's organize where we're at with everything and then figure out what is the best solution. Because again, if tying on to a bigger project because there's more grant money available, that might make more sense than trying to just do something smaller that you have to pay totally out of pocket. And I think that having somebody with experience in grant management and coordination between agencies will help us decide what is actually possible when we figure out what we need to do.
So, I mean, we don't even know which direction we'll go.
Right.
Which one would you pick?
What do you mean? Out of the 3?
Yeah, out of
I don't
3.
know. I mean, honestly, I don't know because but if I'm gonna look at it, I wanna know what different pots of money are available. And can I use like ARPA money from the federal government to match some federal funds that have gone into the state's pot? Is that then considered state money so I can match state and federal? I mean, that's what I would start looking at it as, how to evaluate the water system as a whole and what is the best long-term solution and what is the best funding source for that solution. And I'll tell you how I would look at it, but I don't know what those answers are.
I don't think there's anybody sitting up here would disagree that we're gonna have to have a project manager. That's a gimme. We all realize that. And like I say, find somebody that's qualified. And my only qualms about who it would be, not knowing any of them, would be to make sure that whoever it is totally unbiased and will honestly look for the best solution cost-wise, because I mean, like we talked before, if you've got Creighton Livingston, it's a $40 million project. Even if you've got a grant for $20 million, that still leaves $20 million on the table we got to come up with.
Right.
We can hook up to Caldwell for 10 with no grant, we're still $10 million ahead.
Well, and on top of that, we still have the $19 million or $18 million because of the DRA grant. How does that play into it, to the sewer project? Because that weighs on me. How do you ensure that you're gonna find a water solution that the city can pay for that ties into and fits within the cost of paying for the sewer plant? And I think that we need to look at both of those things together and evaluate how we're going to have our entire water sewer system be up to date, help our businesses expand, because you guys know, like I do, what if somebody needs a big expansion before that sewer plant comes online or while we don't have water infrastructure? How can we support our existing business community so that they can keep growing here? And I think we have to look at the entire infrastructure system as a whole, and that takes an unbiased outside perspective that can just say, this is what we need to do.
So, since the EDC would be hiring them, and I'm just asking out of curiosity, would this council have any input as to the decision of who was hired?
I mean, I think so, yeah, I think that, like I said, probably the best thing forward, which I can't do this, but would be to set up a group made up of council members, probably the county, if the county can have money put into it, and some of the CCEDC board to look at it and to kind of help coordinate all of this, to make recommendations back to you guys to be the ultimate deciders. Because at the end of the day, it's your water plant, it's y'all's decision to make. And I don't think that anybody's trying to come in and step on toes. This is really a way to say how to show you guys that you have the support of the business community to figure this out, and that we're in this together trying to make the best decisions possible.
Now, we've kind of heard, you know, that it was, this person had agreed at $4,500 a month. So basically, we would be looking for approval of spending the $4,500 a month is what the council would basically be approving.
For how long?
It's on a month-to-month basis.
Well, but if
I mean,
you're
that's an
only looking at
unanswerable
one
question.
person, how
Yeah,
does the
how
council
we have
have any input on who's hired? If you're only talking about one person?
One person such as who they're hiring or
Right.
on the board?
Well, you just said that the council would have input on who was hired. If you're only talking about one person,
I
how
get
does the
that.
council have any input on that?
How do we
Well, I
know how
think
much it's gonna be?
At this point, right, when we look at who this person is that understands Kentucky infrastructure, federal grants, water system, sewage, all of that, this person that we need to check the boxes, we've only found one of so far. So I don't think that, there could be other people that match that, but we have not found anybody else that's available that meets kind of what we need to help us with.
Okay.
So it's not that this person wasn't picked because they're this person. This person was picked when, you know, Pad got asked, hey, do you know anybody that could possibly help? And this is the name that came.
And Chris is, and I've talked to Chris, I understand all that,
Mhm.
okay? Sutton is who I'm talking about.
Sure.
I understand all that, and I understand what you're saying, but I don't wanna mislead the people into thinking that the council has some sort of input on who's being hired when the person's already been picked.
Well, they have, but nobody's been hired. I mean, it's just been a person has been identified that could help with this solution.
And I don't doubt the capabilities of Pat office at all, don't get me wrong, I've dealt with them for years. But the name that's been thrown out there, I mean, I've looked them up, okay? And granted, they sound extremely qualified. The big question I have with them though is only thing I can find, the latest is from 2018. There's 3 years that we have no clue.
Well, that person in 2018 was appointed to a federal spot, and I think that after the election, they were no longer appointed to a federal spot, and it's my understanding that they're, you know, towards the end of their career and don't really need the work. They just saw this as an opportunity to help. So, I mean, yeah, there may be a vacancy in public, you know, work in the last 3 years, but we don't know if they've been doing other consulting work on the side in that time.
I'm just curious as to, I mean, you never know about people.
Yeah, well, that was my point, exactly, when it.
3 years,
and when I
there's 3
keep
years
it-
missing that, it's like,
Well,
well, has
it's
he
not
been
necessarily
53
that.
years, or has he been?
But let's say we do go with him, okay? Let's say a federal position opens up. Do you think he's gonna take it?
I mean, I honestly don't know. I think that that's a what if question, and we can go down a lot of paths of what if.
Well, and. I mean,
But what if he's available and he comes to work now and has time for the next 6 months, and we figure out what we're gonna do and find funding for?
Do you
I mean,
think he could secure a grant for this Crittenden Livingston Water District, which we have no numbers on, in 6 months?
I think that he could help identify a path and figure out if we need to bring in a grant writer for it, if that's through PAD, if that's for BFW, if that's a private grant writer. A lot of times you can find private grant writers
Right, yeah.
that get paid when they get the grant. So do I think he could write the grant in the 6 months when we don't know what we're doing yet? No, probably not. Do I think that he could help us on a path to say, you guys got it, you find a new city administrator that can oversee that grant? Yes, I think that that can help.
And my idea is, you know, this person is going to be the contact with Leighton, us, the engineers. I
Can we
mean,
not
we,
say the man's name? I
He-
mean,
he does not-
why do we have to keep referring to third person?
Because he doesn't want to be mentioned until we decide what path we're gonna do, because he doesn't wanna be into the public fray of things. He asked to not be named. So, I mean, that's just respecting wishes of, you guys, you know, it's a sensitive subject, and if you guys don't wanna work with him, I think he just doesn't want his
Like I said, I
name
think
out
we know
there.
we gotta have a project manager.
Mhm.
There's no question about that, especially since we don't have a city administrator anymore.
Yeah, but I don't think they're bringing him in as a project manager. Are you?
that's how I felt about it. That's how I've
I
understood
mean, a
it.
project manager would stick with it to the end.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
Do you see what I'm saying?
But the project that they would need to stick with until the end is figuring out what the solution path is going to be. It's not overseeing the end of because this solution and sticking with it to the end is probably 2 to 3 years. I mean, I
At
think,
least.
I mean, I think that that's your city manager, your city administrator, I'm sorry, is the person that will stick with this until the end. This is a person that helps us through a lot of transition and gets the ball rolling to figure out how do we decide between three different reports, 3 different options, 3 different engineering firms, and coordinating with the sewer plant.
And that is, just before we go forward, that's why I'm for this 100%, because let's say, you know, I'm not gonna be here, Darren's not gonna be here.
none of us may be here.
You know, none of us may be here. AJ's elected. There's a whole new council that has no idea what's going on. This guy has the experience and has the know-how that he would be able to catch them up to speed on what's going on. That's where I'm coming from, because we're not gonna pick the new city administrator. That just wouldn't be right. So we need somebody in here that understands the lingo and that can do it. And that's,
And I don't have a problem with that at all. And I agree 100% that that's needed. There's no doubt about that, okay? Where I have a problem is when we have a group get together and come up with a name that's going to hire that a group of citizens have decided who the city of Marion's gonna hire. Okay, you don't wanna do that in your business and nobody else does either. So if, you know, how do you come forth and tell the council who they're gonna hire with the taxpayers' money?
How much progress have you made in the last 6 months finding
Deanna, you
someone?
don't even know what you're talking about. We haven't had the numbers. Okay, we've not known what the numbers are, any engineering on it. That's not my point. You're going a different direction than my point. My point is that if we're going to hire somebody, if the taxpayers are gonna pay it, our obligation is to the taxpayers' money. So we should have been the one looking for somebody instead of another group bringing this person in. That's my problem with it.
You didn't do that.
I'm not disagreeing with your person. I'm not disagreeing. I'm disagreeing with how it came about.
you know, and to your credit, we didn't know until a few weeks ago that we were losing our city administrator. So I didn't know we were gonna be needing this. So that's,
Oh, we've needed it
Well,
from
how
a while
long-
ago. I'm not saying that.
How long did it take y'all to put together the type person you were looking for and find them? Does that make sense?
That makes sense. I don't know the exact timeline because I've been asked to
Month?
come in a month.
A month, 2
Probably.
months?
I guess I could answer that. I mean, we started off talking to Chris Sutton, somebody we knew. Everybody has a lot of credibility in this county with deep roots here. And he referred this guy. He said, "I'd love to help you," and I can. He said, "I can help you by."
How long did it
by
take him
giving
to
you
come
a-
up with this guy? That's what my
It
question.
didn't. It was immediate once
Okay.
Chris Sutton pointed us to him.
My only concern was.
But the
you know,
stars, to your point, the stars just kind of aligned. You know, these jobs. He's been at the highest level of state government.
Oh, yeah.
He's been at the highest level of federal
It's all
government.
right
This is a
in
guy
there.
that's
I've got
appointed.
100
I
pages.
understand. This is a guy that's been appointed by governors and presidents. You know, this is a guy at the highest level. So he was appointed by Republicans. We now have a Democratic governor. We have a Democratic president. So that creates an opportunity for us. It's not because he's not qualified or anything like that. It just creates an opportunity. So I'm sorry this has become political.
Well, it's not a political issue. I mean, for like the way I look at it.
I mean, the stars have aligned for us to get somebody on this
Amen.
project that can do
Yeah.
something.
It's not a political thing. It's the fact that if y'all been looking for 2 months, if they had 2 months ago worked with us, maybe we'd had this guy 2 months ago.
I tried to bring him up twice and you wouldn't let me, so it is very much so political.
That's not
And
But
I'm,
we're trying.
and I'm not sure, yes, sir.
You know, first time being here. Wouldn't wanna be in nobody's shoes that's up there. But what I'm hearing tonight, this needs to stop right now where it's at of the arguing. I just say that because I have a business in
Yes,
town.
sir.
I don't live in Marion, but I, as well as any other business owner in this place right here, has had to spend money. And I'm fine with that, to get Marion back to where on its feet, to get water, okay? And there's nobody in here who can't say they haven't done it, all right? Who up here on this council, and I'm taking it as a business standpoint of me running my own business, and anybody else knows it in here, has 100% of time to spend on this project? Nobody does. And if you tell me you do, you lie, okay? And that's fine. You've got other lives, you've got other jobs. I don't know if it's this guy or somebody, but if we don't figure it out as a council, and I'm be part of it, of the Marion, you know, help solve and get somebody hard that can fix this project day in, day out, we'll still be talking about this October of 23.
Absolutely, and I'm with
And
you.
that's where I'm at it.
I don't know this gentleman. I have to take the word of people that I respect and that have a lot more to lose. You know, I mean,
we've
Mr.
all been
Capps,
here.
I mean, if something goes south, par 4 shuts down, we're all in trouble. Something goes south, Siemens goes away, we're all in trouble. If these gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, are telling me that, you know, this is the guy that can bring us up out of that, amen, let's go for it, let's get something done. So, that's,
It's time to make that point.
I'd like to express my frustration. Since I've come on board, I've asked these questions every meeting. What's this number? What's this number? What's this number? Okay? We had people in position that could find out. Come to the next meeting, we would not have those numbers. And so don't say that we haven't been trying. And we've had people that have been on the payroll that could go to Crittenden Livingston and tell us exactly what it would be our cost and have failed. To this day, if Crittenden Livingston takes us on as a customer, it's not our job to pay for the $37 million, okay? So, I mean, there's one simple solution right now on the board, and that's this $1 million. We have an engineering firm that is hired. They're going to do their best to get it done as quickly as possible. Now, you tell me on this one simple project what this gentleman can bring to the board or to us.
for that one,
How he can help
that
us.
is your short-term solution.
This is not.
That is your short-term
This is an
solution.
8 to 10 year solution.
Can I say,
Yes.
with all due respect, because I get it, it's only $1 million.
Right.
But what about the sewer, what is the state of the sewer plant after running so much
The
water?
water. Do you mean the water plant?
I'm sorry, I mean the water plant,
Okay. Yes, no, I
You know what
agree.
mean? But what is the state, and that's my perspective of, if we
No.
can fix it for $1 million and then fix the water plant for $3 million and get a grant for half of it, great, that would be awesome.
Right.
But who's gonna do that? Who's the person that's gonna coordinate that, I think, is the question.
Well, yeah, I mean, I said 2 months ago, I said, what would a new water plant cost? Still don't know. No answer.
I
have a question about the water plant.
You have a question about the
Yes,
water
sir.
plant?
Yesterday morning, I got a message early, and I'm with her, our water plant is in terrible shape, correct? Did it go down yesterday morning, Jeff?
Pardon?
Did we have some issues with the water plant yesterday morning?
The power issue.
Yes. So there's always gonna be something. I mean, I got a call at 6 o'clock yesterday morning. So I knew that the water plant had an electrical issue and they needed someone to fix it. I've not heard anybody but her say that we have a water plant issue. Well, you need to consider it all. I agree with that.
Absolutely. AJ, you were trying to ask a question.
Sorry.
My name is Austin Valentine. Of course, I'm running for mayor. I think the idea of having some sort of consultant is a good idea. I really do. I agree with it. From a construction standpoint, and I put plenty of pipe in the ground, the window for running lines is slipping away quick. You're not going to run too much in the winter time.
I just don't think that running lines to Crittenden and Livingston Water District and then dealing with plant upgrades is going to be the right course of action. But a consultant might say something totally different. I'm a firm believer that the levee can be fixed. I don't know. I've dealt with Bacon Farmer and Workman before on many construction projects, even electrical projects. So I know a lot of the people down there. I don't see why they couldn't come in and put a temporary sheet piling levee across there to fix that. I don't know if that's been entertained, but that's something that's used quite frequently. But you got to keep in mind the weather's fixing to change, and the time for laying pipe is just about out from under you. You're not going to get anything done before the spring.
And that's basically what they did just.
Yeah, I don't care who you are. Like I said, this is coming from years of construction experience. So this time is going to have to be utilized for the planning of what's going to be done. Now, I'm a firm believer that we can fix the levee. Firm believer we can upgrade the water plant. I stopped at Crittenden and Livingston Water District on Thursday of last week and had a conversation with the young lady down there, and she confirmed that talks had been made about regionalization. And of course, at the end of the conversation, she threw in that yeah, we will be happy to regionalize with the city of Marion, assuming that they're going to upgrade our water plant. So keep that in mind. A water plant will have to be upgraded if we hook on to Crittenden and Livingston. Why in the world would we go and spend money on somebody else's plant when we've got our own we can put it on? And more than likely, the upgrades to our own plant would be cheaper than what they are at the Crittenden and Livingston. I can't say for sure. I don't know 100%. But I am a firm believer in this. We do have a water plant that is working if we can get water to the plant. It makes sense to fix this levee. I agree 100% with Mr. Hatfield that there's no reason not to fix this levee. But, like I said, what's going to have to be done is the planning during the winter months. Connections to Union County, that should be pushed. There needs to be the interconnections to Union County. If there's any way possible to get that through, that way we can get through the winter with a good, steady water supply, and then in the spring fix the levee. By fall of next year, there should be enough water in that lake to sustain the city of Marion. But I again urge you, why throw money at somebody else's water plant when we can throw it at our own?
You'd have to be crazy to think that they returned to the city of Marion to pay for that full 37 million, whatever it was. And that's, again, why we need someone to come in that can speak this and go over, because I had spoke with Amanda earlier, and I said part of the frustration is, we don't know that what connections he has, if he can get into the right pockets, that if the $37 million project ends up being cheaper on us than what the $6 million project would be. I don't know. I don't know what's out there.
And I totally agree. But when somebody stands right in front of me and says, we're not going to put a dime into it, and that kind of shut me down right there.
You had said someone that worked there. It wasn't it wasn't Tyler, I take it. It wasn't Vaughn. So
right, it wasn't Vaughn. It wasn't Vaughn.
So,
but you have to keep in mind. But like I said, I think the right course of action, the cheapest course of action, is to utilize our own equipment and fix the levee. Nothing is going to get done through these winter months, and anybody that thinks that something's going to get done during these winter months is a fool.
Jason, did you have something else?
I got something. I was just going to ask Amanda just to make sure that everyone understands that this consultant, I don't think he has any qualms on what we do. He's willing to direct us in the right path as far as grants and money and the direction we need to go, whether it's fixing the levee or if we want some other way. He's not, in his mind, he's not limited already to one source. He's willing to look at everything with an objective eye.
That's where what they're calling the political side of it came in, because that's not what was said at one time. It was said that Crittenden and Livingston was the only option we had.
No.
And that's where the opposition came from.
I understand. It's my understanding that this person will come in and evaluate the best solution with everything, because part of it is you know, if, the way that that federal money flows down, whatever administration is in charge of it, either the state or federally, they're the ones that put in what they wanna see in the grant narrative application. And that changes based on administration. So that could change, even though it says one thing right now, that could change into something, you know, in the next administration, however it changes. So I say all that to say, again, we don't know if it's gonna be cheaper to just fix the old, Lake George right now, or if it's going to be about the same cost to buy into a regional system. And we're not gonna know.
Okay, the reason I think some of us have pushed to fix Lake George is not as a long-term solution, is because if you went with Caldwell, or if you went with Crittenden Livingston, at a minimum, you were looking at 5 years. So for 5 years, we had to continue to produce our own water and have a water source. And that was just to get us through till that happened.
Right.
But where supposedly the politics of all this came in was just because that statement was made, they say Crittenden Livingston will offer you got, and that's where the friction started.
Right.
Because we don't know that. We're still getting numbers today that are different from what we had a week ago and what the costs are gonna be. So there's no way, in my mind, you can tell me that this is the only option we got, and no way to go, because we don't have a
I don't
number.
even think we have a number that it will cost the city of Marion's water customers if we join Crittenden and Livingston or not. Now, if this guy can bring those numbers, is he gonna be the one that's gonna call Crittenden and Livingston Water District and say, hey, let's have this meeting? You and I'm a representative of the city of Marion. Is he gonna go down there and have the meeting and say, I need something back to take to the city council of Marion, that for 1,000 gallons of water, this is what it's gonna cost our customers.
That's where you're gonna come into play. I'm sorry, member, that's where you're going to come into play with these working sessions. Cause.
So, I am.
We
But what
all
about this guy?
are.
I'm
We
talking
all-
about this guy.
Yep.
Is he gonna go to Crittenden and
It's
Livingston?
gonna be more
Water?
informative than it ever has been. Everybody's going to be here. We are going to have working sessions. If you wanna have 4 special meetings a week, that's what we're gonna have until we get to the bottom of it. Okay, so there is not gonna be any more, well, I didn't get that information. This morning whenever I received those emails, first thing I
No,
told her.
hey, this
send-
week.
Send
has
them
been
out. Get 'em out to her.
Solid gold this week.
So we.
I've never been happy.
Moving forward.
fine.
Everything
so
is.
happy that I did get
I'm
those.
not a finger pointer and I will not do it.
That's fine.
Moving
It doesn't matter.
Moving forward,
I
anytime
don't
something
want
comes.
I don't want people pointing fingers at the council, that the council has not done anything at all, okay? The council has asked questions. Council has not gotten the info like we have. Engineering reports take time. I agree, I know that. But there's been some questions that could have been answered that haven't, you know?
But this gentleman is going to be here. He's going to be available to us and to all of you all to where, you know, if he's not here through Leighton, through us, we will have that information. So, yes,
And
ma'am.
if I can add too, though, recently, as of 2 weeks ago, Caldwell Princeton wasn't really an option. They expressed no interest in helping us, and within the last 48 hours, they've came on. He has been to an engineering firm, and they've come up with some numbers.
Yeah.
So now we finally have 2 viable sources that we can draw from, and this person will look at another option to have. So, no, myself.
Well,
nor
part
this-
of that was
I'm
'cause-
sorry, I'm speaking.
I'm sorry. You're right.
Myself and this person, we were not committed to just Crittenden and Livingston. It wasn't, but at the time, that was the best option. But now, with Princeton Caldwell on board, we've got another choice, making him even more important.
Did you have anything else, ma'am?
Just one more,
Sure.
and then I'll have a
No, ma'am, you're fine.
I think, Donnie and Jason, to both of your points, is we need a solution that we are not in a crisis every day wondering if there's a leak, are we gonna have to pass out water? Are we gonna be able to wash dishes, flush toilets, right? So we need a very immediate solution to help us sustain water over time. But we also need to figure out what the best path is long-term. And I think that this person can also help us, immediate needs, long-term needs, everything.
Absolutely.
Any more questions from me?
Yeah, I don't think there's any option about doing a project manager. I
Well,
don't think there's any question on that.
Before I ask the council for their blessing to spend the $4,500 a month, Tim, is there anything that you would like to say?
Well, I appreciate Amanda coming up, and
Absolutely.
she did a great job with the presentation that you all did. Hey, know, the point is, we need to solve this problem, and we need to move forward, we need to make some decisions. One thing I was asking myself a while ago was, how much longer are we gonna be restricted? Because I don't know whether to go through Beaver's car wash or not.
Right.
And I think that's very unfortunate. So we're still restricted. And the people here, they're still gonna be restricted for some time period, but we need to start making decisions. And we need help.
Absolutely.
You know, and whoever the best help is, let's get that person. We have one, maybe more, but let's make a decision. Let's do that.
I believe we do have a decision and a solution right here with BFW. BFW is hired to fix Lake George, okay? And once that gets done, that's our quickest option. This is our quickest option right here.
Yeah, I'm sorry, but we didn't even know that last week.
I have a question.
Hold on, Bobby, until Mr. Capps is finished. Yes, we do have an option. That's, yes.
And that's just what I'm saying. Instead of using a scare tactic of whether we can use the car wash or not, we have a solution. And hopefully, and I don't see any other solution on this board. You know, we're not even close to even Crittenden and Livingston starting any kind of project.
No, we're not.
And like I said, we do have a short-term solution.
Now,
And that is to get this water plant done.
that is a short-term solution. I do want to say real quick before we
Lake George.
discontinue the short-term solution of Lake George, the council did vote to turn over the short-term solution to the state. So with that being said, that has slowed us down a lot. That is a short-term solution. Because they are going to be the deciding factor on if we get to do that or not. The state.
I'm gonna decide either way whether we get them to.
Yeah, they'd have to go.
If I could,
Yes,
I'll
please.
finish. I was embarrassed last week, I'm embarrassed today. We have some major employers in this room, and some of them aren't from around here, and I'm embarrassed by that. And I apologize to those people, because really, we should be making decisions, but we gotta find the right information. And that's what business people are asking you all, hey, please, let's find somebody, and let's put the information together, and let's make a decision. You guys can vote however you want to, but that's what needs to be done. And that's what we're asking you all to do. And that's the business community, let alone the citizens. And I think you all heard that. So appreciate everybody's time, and I really appreciate Amanda. She did a great job.
Yes.
So we thank you.
Thank you.
Hope you all pass it.
Bobby, do you want to come on up?
Yeah. Bobby Bell, I just had a couple of quick questions. How long did we use Lake George? How many years was that in service?
Almost
Roughly.
70 years.
Okay, so I'm asking because I don't know. I keep hearing that it's a short-term solution. Okay, if it's fixed properly, why is it a short-term solution?
Well, the plant needs upgrades as well.
Assuming that you fix the plant as
Sure.
well. Okay, if the plant was upgraded and fixed, does that still make Lake George just a short-term solution? Or does it now turn into a long-term solution?
The state had said something, correct me if I'm wrong, something about how, what was it that Kerry
We
said
would
up
never
there?
use that for drinking water again.
For a
Water source.
Right, for a water source.
That's from the state. They're
Bobby, I
matters.
can't answer.
Not
about
really.
those.
Okay, I'm
Sure.
asking because I don't know. I keep hearing short-term, short-term being 5, 6, 7, 8 years.
What we did get the okay to do was to let it fill to where we could pump the water over to Old City Lake. But as far as being our source for water, we were basically told that that would not happen.
Have they said why?
They've said a lot.
What is the reason
But,
we've been using it for 70 years,
yes.
and
The
nobody
dam-
come and said, you can't drink that water.
The dam, even if we completely rebuilt it, and you all can correct me if I'm wrong here, they said even if we completely rebuilt it brand new, it would still be a
It's a moderate.
moderate risk
classification.
dam.
That's not
never
gonna
changes.
change, period.
That's not going to change, and that's what they were telling us.
But they explained, when I presented the report,
Yes, sir.
they explained that a moderate risk did not mean that it was a moderate risk of failing. He
Correct.
said it was, if it failed,
Right.
there was a moderate risk, okay? And the whole reason for me presenting that was so we could get answers to
Sure.
that end. So he didn't say it was at a moderate risk of failing. If it failed, it would do basically moderate damage if that was to happen. And I was just curious as to why it was being referred
Some of
to.
those
I
same-
didn't know the state had said you can't use it.
Yeah. Some of those same questions you're asking now, we asked.
We've been asked all.
That's where these answers came from.
Common
And
sense,
that's,
you would
and that's
think.
not to say that that can't be changed, okay?
Yeah.
it could go from a short term to a long term. We don't know. I mean, that's what they told us originally, but they've also told us a lot of other stuff originally that they backtracked on or had to backtrack on because of pressure or whatever reason. But as far as them telling us exactly why that couldn't be long term, that was just
Well,
it.
the other reason I ask is that affects what you do to the water plant.
Exactly.
I mean, why do you want to invest $10 million in a local water plant if you have nowhere to get the water from? Because they're not gonna let you use Lake George as a long-term solution, so I was just curious.
Thank you. At this time, I'm going to ask for,
Jared, could I speak a minute?
I'm sorry?
Jared, would you mind
Oh,
if I speak a second?
yeah, go ahead.
You know, I'm all for, like I said, I'm all for having a project manager and a consultant. I do think you're jumping the gun this meeting. And the reason why I say that, a young lady over in the corner, had said that they've got grant writers. Now, are they on retainer, Bacon Farmer and Workman? They're working on a proposal for the levee reconstruction.
They are right now, yes.
They are on retainer. So you've got an engineering firm that's on retainer that's gonna get you some answers, within a week, is what they're saying, roughly, okay? And you've got a young lady over there that said there's several different grants that can be applied for once they see exactly what can be done. I'm asking that you table this till the next meeting, pending their report and pending the outcome of what they have to say. Because we've already seen senseless money through at the Lucille mines. I know $4,500 is not a whole lot, but I tell you what, there's been a lot of spending that I don't think should have been spent.
Okay.
And, you can spend here and throw there and throw there and throw there. Next thing you know, the pot's empty.
Well, I understand. I'm gonna go ahead, we're gonna stop right there. I have pushed this and waited, we've pushed and waited long enough. What I'm asking right now is for the blessing from the council, someone to make a motion to spend the $4,500 a month on this.
I make the motion.
I have a motion by Deanna.
I'll second it.
I have a second by Dwight. All in favor, aye. Pose no.
No.
Ayes have it. So therefore, we are going to move forward with that. With that being, roll call, well, I can, although I only heard one no. Darren,
We don't have to roll
Darren
call.
was no, we don't.
We don't have to roll call.
We don't have to, and I only heard the one. Okay, he asked for a roll call. Jason?
Yes.
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 Yes. 5 yes, 1 no. All right, thank you very much. Now, with that being all, I'm going to turn it over. Is there any other comments or questions tonight, Darren?
Street paving.
Oh, street paving.
I think we tabled it last meeting, correct?
Did he get us that list? I think Gary was working on that list.
We had the list.
We had a list, but to me, there was some discrepancies.
Yes.
There was a question about whether the daycare center had bonded that we wrote out there.
Yeah, I did get something on that. I'm taking we do not have the,
I couldn't find anything as far as a bond. That's what you're asking for.
My understanding is there is traffic coming from the daycare center down Hart Street.
you go ahead, sorry.
I'm sorry. My understanding is there is traffic that's coming from the daycare and using Hart Street, right? Am I right?
Is it Rudd or
Rudd.
Rudd, okay, I'm sorry. Using Rudd. And I believe that we discussed that they shouldn't be, right?
From what I was told, it was just one bus, is what I was told.
Okay, I think the problem is there are parents that are picking up coming through there, adding extra traffic. And I don't know if this is true or not. I was told that there was, maybe you all took a vote or someone took a vote through the neighborhood, the homeowners through there.
I think Adam took a poll, did he not?
Adam's still on the phone.
He had, I think she said.
Some
he
of
had.
them were here when that all.
Poll
y'all-
vote.
Yeah, I think you're right, there was something.
They were here.
That should be shut down, right? So should we not, can we follow up on that of shutting it?
If I remember correctly, when they were
Okay.
here that night, and they were wanting to put the center in there. They told us that they would not use that for a through street, only for emergencies if it was needed, and that's what the residents wanted because of the daycare center there. They didn't want the extra traffic and the kids on that street because of daycare. So at that time, I thought it was pretty much settled that that was an emergency exit only for them in case of emergency, but would not be used on a routine daily basis.
Can you look up what we approved?
Do you know about the time that was?
Well, someone sent me the news clipping of the article that Chris had
I
put,
have it right here.
that Chris had put in the paper, that I was gonna ask him, so,
But I remember when we talked about it.
if you don't care.
It says buses will enter and exit the proposed new facility off Chapel Hill Road, and car riders will enter campus from Rudd Street.
See, that's different from what we talked about that night.
This is my report from January 11th, 2021.
Because the people
Yeah.
that live on that street were concerned about the extra traffic.
Right. So, Chris, what you're quoting there, or where you're,
This is just the article.
who's the source? Was it the city of Marion or
City
Audubon?
Council.
Yeah,
Okay, all right, that's what it
but he said that was January of 2021.
January 11th, 2021.
Well, not, you don't have to now, but for
Well,
the
I have
next.
something else older here.
So if you all agreed on it, then that's fine.
That's right.
You know,
Well,
I just
no,
want-
that's not what I don't think that's what we agreed on. I thought they were not gonna use it except in case of emergency, period.
look up the minutes.
Yeah, so she's gonna pull the minutes.
Is that not right, Mike?
Yeah,
Is that not
that's the
what-
way I remember it, but
Yeah.
it was discussed, I know, and I thought that's what we decided, but.
Then afterwards, we heard they were changed, they changed it, but not by us.
Well, all I can remember about it was the bus traffic. Yeah,
They didn't
that's
want
what
the
we
heavy
did.
Car traffic too, they
buses
were not
on
gonna
the-
use that street.
That's all I remember about that. But if
Well,
you'll pull that for us, then.
Yeah, we can wait on, I mean, that's different than the paving issues. I don't know if you all or anyone else has been down those two streets.
Which ones were they again, Jason? Because
Rudd and Hart on those two, right?
Chapel Hill.
Where, well, of course, Chapel Hill. But on the paving, where is the paving list?
I didn't bring it this time. It was Rudd and Hart and Chapel Hill to Tyler Manufacturing, and then from Adams to, or somewhere to Chapel.
I hate it. Anyway, my personal opinion, I don't feel like Rudd or Hart need to be repaved. And that obviously Chapel Hill does. And
I have it if you'd like. It's Hart from Country Club to the dead end, Rudd, Country Club to Head Start, Chapel Hill Road, Country Club Drive to Tyler Manufacturing, West Carlisle Street from South Weldon Street to South Yandle, North Weldon Street from West Poplar Street to Travis.
is that not different than what I had?
Did they bond
haven't
Chapel
found
Hill?
it
Did
out
they
yet.
ever put,
Not that I could find.
Oh, I've got you, on North Weldon. I'm just saying, I don't feel like Rudd or Hart, neither one need to be paved. I drove down them over the weekend. Definitely Chapel Hill does, and maybe even further than Tyler Manufacturing. But that's just my 2 cents. I don't know. Of course, this isn't on the agenda, so I don't know.
Right, well, we will, it can be on the next one, so if we can bring that back and.
Yeah, I don't know if that should be Gary's decision, or you know, what
Gary's
what they feel like. I mean, there's some parts of Moore Street that just need to be paved.
I think this list came from Gary.
Does it have to be on the agenda?
It doesn't
for
have
you all
to,
make
just
a
so we don't
decision?
forget. It's,
Yeah, I think that list came from Gary.
that list did come from Gary.
Alan sent me this stuff to put it out for bid, and it was to November 3rd. So that was gonna be a short window of time if we table it to the next meeting.
Oh, well, you're right.
Alan, what's his name?
Robert.
With Eclipse. I mean, you're gonna get into the paving season being over. this
Oh,
month.
yeah, I'm sure it's real close. I don't know, that's my.
And he has to have that by November 3rd, has to have that out
No,
to bid.
he sent me like the ad to put in the paper to open the bids until then. If we wait another month, it's going to be
It's gonna be
December
past,
and
right.
no one's gonna bid for it to pave the streets.
Chapel Hill's a no-brainer, it's all
Yeah.
pieces. Yeah, it's,
Yeah, but they could do it at the start of next season. I mean, we can still approve it,
Sure.
right? And
Yeah.
take, and accept the bid. and get that and ready, because I don't know if anybody's even gonna do paving in November or not. I don't know when they actually shut down the plants or not, but, I just think before we just throw money to Rudd or Hart, there's, and I had mentioned Rochester, I know is, in
Rochester
rough
is
shape
rough.
also. And like I said, if
Oh,
anybody,
So we're limited on the
Rough
amount of money
shape.
we have.
Yes.
We got 60,000,
I believe
little over
that's all we
60,000
have,
this year.
60-something thousand.
yeah, I mean, if you get a chance, just try down Rudd and Hart, see, you know, whether you wanna leave it on the table or not, you know, I just.
Possibly could, with the length of those, maybe get Rochester.
Well, and like I said, I do think Chapel Hill, if we cannot find anything about the bonding on that, might need to be extended on, you know. And there's another 1,000 feet if we take Rudd and Hart off, you know.
True.
So it might just be some questions for Leighton and Gary to work out together or something, you know, and maybe look at.
Yes, sir. Anything else, Jason?
Probably, but no.
How's the playground?
I don't have any more questions.
You don't want to talk about the playground.
It's been a long week. No, if you must know,
It looks good.
Well, it does.
It's something to be proud of.
It's,
Come on.
I have no volunteers, and I've had a few guys that come, and they're just really good guys, and they have helped.
I know for a fact that one standing in my office asked for some ribs, and he'd be back.
Yes, yes, he has, and they don't want any notoriety or anything like that. But
Y'all did do a good job. Looks
for
good.
the most part, it's been 3. We've had a couple others. We've had a few others show up here and there, but no mass work sessions or anything like that. Of course, with my work schedule and taking this on, I could be done in probably about 2 more days.
Is that something that the jail could help with, inmate help?
I've requested, and that's when I, first started thinking about this playground is that I would have inmate labor out there to be the muscle, and I sort of asked, but I think they're limited on guards and
Sure,
the amount.
sure.
I don't know. I wasn't going to step on any toes and go directly to Robbie. I don't know. I went straight to the judge executive. That's all I knew. I've made phone calls asking for people if they can work today or not, and and it has to correlate with my schedule too.
Sure.
But I still go out there at night and do what I can. We'll get there.
Yep. Well, I appreciate everything you're doing there.
I think the fencing company might still be maybe this week.
We'll spend it today,
Oh, okay, I didn't know exact date. So then we will probably, whoever, tourism, you all, we will probably need to discuss ground fall, whether that be mulch or rubber mulch or what they call poured in place. I've learned about a grant for that the state of Kentucky has. I had it last year, didn't know about it, we missed the window there. It would have worked perfect for us. But once I have my equipment in place, I was going to make some phone calls and try to get estimates on that and take to whoever. Then we can follow up on funding for that. And there's a lot of playground grants and stuff like that.
Well, again, thanks for everything.
Maybe
you're
this
doing.
guy will find us. I don't know.
We can ask for his input.
Hey, well, hey, on earth. I mean,
Donnie, what do you have for us
Since he
tonight?
brought it up, if y'all haven't seen the playground out there, you need to go by and look at it. Even though tourism paid for it out of the tourism dollars, and he'll probably hit me for this, but the man who has put the hours in to put that thing together is sitting right there, and he deserves a hand. He has put countless
Something to be proud of. Yes, ma'am.
Jared, I have a question. On the playground, it looks wonderful. I live right off a country drive there. We have a lot of people that, I guess it's the parents of the kids that are playing sports, and they, in the last year, have just been flying down there. Now, I know they put a couple signs saying, I don't know, what's it say? Park areas.
Park areas, children at play.
Is there, I'm real concerned for the safety of the kids there. Is there any type of a barrier type?
there will be. We wanted to get it, sort of built before we got it contained.
Great.
And in discussion with the park board, who tourism has bought this equipment, and then I've been overseeing it, and it's going on park board property, and then there will be a fence all the way around it, and we've discussed with the city and police, and there will be, I believe Gary had decided on 6-inch post in between. The fence will sit, give me a second on my math, 16 feet out of I think the fence is going to sit about 8 feet off of the road, and from that fence to the center of the swing set will be 16 feet. But in between the fence and the road, there will be these 6-inch posts along through there. So
That's good, but.
so it's been everybody's concern. It's just not there because the playground's not
Yeah,
finished. Or done.
and I
So,
understand because it does, that looks beautiful and the kids
Well,
are gonna love it.
Yes, they are.
But the traffic there has just gotten crazy, and I know that the police have been patrolling it a bit. But, I mean, I was walking home the other night, from a friend's, and, I mean, it was dark, but I was still there, and this car just comes flying down there, and they're going fast.
Well, I think Jason also brought up the possibility of some, not speed bumps, but speed humps put in place, and that'll be a surprise.
I mean, I brought it up, but I'm not sure where that's going
Right.
to go, and that would be a council decision. I mean, it's not up to me. It is a concern of mine and others around that work with the park, you know. And it's just whether or not it's brought up or a motion to be made to do it or not. But
Donna, what else did you have?
Yeah, other than, I know y'all haven't seen the newest figures, this was the one that came from Caldwell, Princeton, and now they're saying that they can, their estimate is 15 million. And then the Creighton and Livingston, there's numbers now that are coming out, the preliminary numbers, that they have enough water in production now to supply us without doing any upgrades at all.
That's interesting.
So,
where's she at?
it's not on this sheet, but they have excess of what they
Someone's
sell.
glasses are up here.
Never mind. I'll come to you in a minute.
I would like to piggyback on the conversation about the speed bumps
Oh,
that aren't speed bumps.
Yes, ma'am.
I would request that that does go before the council, because I also live on Country Drive.
Uh-huh.
And in the last year, I'm new to the area. That sports complex is so well used. It's the best facility I've seen in any community I've lived in. But it does create a problem. And I'm gonna say that at least 2/3, if not more, of the people that go to that complex come down Country Drive.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a long, straight pass through. And I can count on one hand the number of people per day that drive the speed limit. And the police department could not possibly patrol that street enough to slow the traffic down. There needs to be something done, so if that can be put on the council, whatever can be done that's low cost is fine. If a speed bump, at both ends would slow somebody down, that would be wonderful, because people do go too fast.
Absolutely. Let's wait until we can get Chief O'Neill in here to where he can guide us a little bit on that, and then.
I'll tell you a little bit of a funny story about that. A couple of years ago, and I live on Shady Grove Road there, so they come around the curve and it's hammered down all the way. And people out in that area complained about people speeding. So the city police sends people out there and we're stopping them. And what was really, really ironic about it was 9 out of 10 that they stopped were the people that lived on those streets. It wasn't the kids, it was people that lived out there that were doing all the speeding.
Yeah,
So
I see my neighbors also gunning it down. It's a straight shot, everybody wants to do it. We need to have a speed bump at least halfway down that's gonna make people slow down.
Do you have anything else? No? DY?
I think these people have listened to us
They've-
enough tonight. I
Miss
think they're ready
Deanna?
to go home.
No, just ready to go home.
Michael?
Easily Robin. Loan fund has $600,000. Is any of that being used?
There's
There are
currently
a few
some
loans.
out.
There are 3 loans out of
I
that.
mean, that's a lot of money to just.
There's a lot of restrictions on that money.
That,
Revolving loan fund? Is that it?
Yeah, but
I
it's,
don't think you can.
there's so many restrictions that in order to access that money that you have to be a new business coming in, have to have more than 2 jobs or.
Couldn't we spend it on something else?
No,
It's pretty restricted.
I can tell you better than I can.
No, I believe that you all have an ordinance that says exactly how that revolving loan fund can be. And if you start to use it in ways that do not match what the law is, then whoever the entity that gave it to you all will likely take it back.
Yep.
I'm assuming that it came from a
If
grant.
It started out that way.
Yeah.
It's grown, but it started out as a grant.
Yes, and you get to keep what it grows, but you have to get back the original money if you start to spend it in ways that it's not set out. And I believe that that program is probably on a federal level. If it was, do you guys know USDA rural development?
Nikki may know.
Nikki?
You can't use it for anything.
All right. Ivy, you have anything else?
I think I have it.
Then, well,
Well,
for the ones that, I know we have a
There's-
couple that have used it
there's
several
people-
times.
Probably
That,
people in this building that's used that money up.
so,
Yeah,
Yeah,
a lot.
Yeah.
We appreciate the use
Yeah.
of it. We used
I
it,
wish
paid the money back.
We could channel some of it, I don't know if it could be done, but channel it into low interest loans on the same principle for people who want to buy and rehab houses in town, to give them an incentive, you know.
I think we have to start a new fund or something for that. But with that being all, it's on the agenda. Done?
Yeah, I'm not.
Whoop, Ms. Layton?
Gary said he wanted the message passed at the last meeting. I believe Adam said that the leaf vac parts were here. He says they are not here, that they're still waiting for parts.
Great. All right, so we're still waiting to be able to put together the leaf collection schedule, okay? Adjourned. Thank you all.